Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I will show you how to work the half double crochet stitch. The half double crochet, which I have here in light blue, is kind of a in-between stitch of the single crochet, which I have here, and the double crochet. It's kind of in between those two stitches. And here I also wanted to show you a swatch of treble crochet. So you can really see the size difference. And this one is single crochet, shorter. Next is half double, double, and treble, or triple as some people call it. So let's get started. I'll keep our swatch handy here so we can come back to it. For this tutorial, I'm just going to use some acrylic worsted weight yarn and a 5.5 millimeter eye hook. So we're going to make a swatch kind of like this one, and I'll show you how to begin a half double crochet row. I'll also show you the actual half double crochet stitch, and then we'll learn how to transition from row to row. And again, each one of these swatches is 2 rows, so you can really see the size difference. So let's get started. We're going to take our yarn. We're going to begin our swatch by putting a slip knot on our hook. And then we'll make a few chains. To make a chain, just wrap yarn around hook and pull it through the loop, just like that. Okay? So this is our starting chain. Whenever you're making a starting chain, you want to make it not too tight, just to keep everything nice and loose and elastic. And then for the half double crochet, we're going to make our first stitch in the 3rd chain from the hook. Now that being said, I wanted to mention that when you're working from a pattern, be sure and follow the pattern, because usually the designer will account for things like tension, the hook size, the yarn type, etc. So this is a general rule of thumb for working this stitch. However, you'll definitely want to follow your pattern if you are working from a pattern. But to learn the stitch, these are general stitch guidelines. So in the 3rd chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, we're going to work our first half double crochet. To make a half double crochet, we'll go really slow and then we'll pick up speed as we move along. You'll wrap yarn around hook, then you'll insert the hook into the chain. Then you'll reach back here and pull up a loop and pull it through the chain, just like that. So we now have 1, 2, 3 loops on our hook. Next, you'll wrap yarn around hook and you'll bring it through all 3 loops, just like that. That's the half double crochet stitch. Let's do it again. Yarn around hook, insert it into the chain, bring up a loop by reaching back and scooping up the yarn, bring it back up through the chain, yarn around hook, and bring it through all 3 loops, just like that. Let's do it again. Yarn around hook, insert it into the chain, bring up a loop, yarn around hook, bring it through all 3 loops. Let's move on to the next one. Yarn around hook, insert it into the chain, bring up a loop. Yarn around hook, bring it through all 3 loops. So we've made a few half double crochets. Just need to grab a little yarn here. Let's do another one. Yarn around hook, insert it into the chain, bring up a loop. 3 loops on the hook. Yarn around hook, bring it through all 3 loops. Now here's our last chain. Yarn around hook, insert it into the chain, bring up a loop. Yarn around hook, bring it through all 3 loops. So we've just worked a row of half double crochet stitches. Now our original swatch had 2 rows, so let's learn how to move from row to row. To go into the next row, we're going to chain 2. To make a chain, again, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the loop. That's 1 and 2. Next, we're going to turn our work or flip it over, and we'll do the same thing. Yarn around hook. And I wanted to mention too, these little holes here are the stitches. In between here are the spaces. So when you're reading a pattern, it'll say work it into the stitch or work it into the space. We're going to work it into the stitch here. So bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, all 3 loops. Yarn around hook, bring up a loop, bring it through all 3 loops. And then you'll just keep doing that all the way across. And I wanted to mention one more thing, that when you come to the end of the row, we have our turning chain here, right here from when we chained 3 and turned our work. You're also going to work a half double crochet into that turning chain right here. Sometimes if it's hard to see, when you insert your hook, you can kind of give it a tug and pull it up. Sometimes I do that to kind of differentiate. Let's do that again. Yarn around hook, put it into the turning chain. If you need to pull it up, that's okay. Bring up a loop, yarn around hook, bring it through all 3 loops. So this is our half double crochet swatch. I wanted to mention one more thing, that when we worked it into, I'll pull it apart to make it easier to see. When we worked our first stitch, sometimes, let's go back here to, we made our turning chain. You'll have to follow the pattern, because sometimes you'll work a half double crochet into that first stitch, and sometimes this turning chain counts as the first half double crochet. If it counts as the first half double crochet, then you would work it into the second stitch. So when you're working your pattern, if it counts as, if your turning chain counts as the first stitch, then you'll skip it. But just follow the pattern. Each pattern is different and will produce different effects in that case. So this is the half double crochet tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the red subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.